Hi everyone, here we are today to take a look at modal, auxiliary, and main verbs. But first, let's answer the homework questions. Question, what is the role of the main verb in a verb phrase? Well, as David Crystal explains it, the role there, it's the main meaning, it's the main action. The main verb shows us basically the most important action of the verbs. Which three auxiliary or helping verbs can also function as main verbs? Be, do, and have, these three. What are the 9 modal verbs? Can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, and must. Learn those, memorize those. And how are modal verbs different to other auxiliary verbs? Well, modal verbs do not decline. That is, they do not change form. We can't say, I cans, he musts, right? They don't change form. Let's practice a little bit more with this. Here's a sentence. What is the verb phrase? Well, these 4 verbs. So that's the first step, is you need to be able to tell which ones are the verbs. We've got 4 here. What is the main verb in this sentence above? Must have been. Obviously, running. How can you tell? Well, because running tells us the action. If we don't have that verb, we don't know what she must have been doing. Okay, running is the main verb. Which one is modal? Well, it's part of our list. Can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must. Must is our modal verb. And then which order do the verbs typically come in a verb phrase? Well, if we just break it down, we see here's the main verb. The modal verb comes first. The modal verb comes first. The main verb usually comes last. And the helping auxiliary verbs or verb are in the middle. So it's answer B. Answer B. Another exercise. Okay, here we have more verb phrases. Must be working, should go, are having, and escaped. Are these modal, auxiliary, or main verbs? And by the way, keep in mind, when David Crystal talks about auxiliaries, he could mean modal verbs, or be, do, and have. Just for us to keep things simple and easy, when we say auxiliary verb, we mean be, do, or have. And we'll just refer to modal auxiliary verbs as modal verbs. Okay, in any case, back to it. Take a moment, pause the video, and then let's discuss your answers. Okay. What we see here is working is the main verb, must is the modal, be is the auxiliary. Can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should is our modal verb, and go is then the main verb. Having, or say eating, is the main verb here. Are, it's not a modal verb, so it must be an auxiliary. And here, there's only one verb, so it has to be the main verb. Escaped. Okay? Double check. Feel free to pause. And let's continue. Be, do, and have they can be either main verbs or auxiliary verbs. They're multi-purpose. So look at the sentences below and let's decide, are the verbs auxiliary or main? Take a moment, pause this video, try the exercise yourself, and then let's discuss. All right. Let's go with had. Had is the main verb. Has is the auxiliary because it's not a modal and it's not the main verb. It has to be an auxiliary. Have. Well, there's only one verb here. It has to be the main verb. Here we have 2, and we know that done is the one that really shows us the meaning of the sentence. So this is the main verb. This is our auxiliary. Main, auxiliary, main, auxiliary. Only one verb here. It has to be the main verb. What we see is there are patterns. Again, if you just study the answer keys and study sample sentences or questions, you begin to see the pattern, right? The main verb is usually the final one. It's usually the last one in the verb phrase, like we see with number 1, number 3, number 4, number 5. And if be, do, be, have, or do is on its own, like in number 6, it's the only verb, it's likely to be the main verb. That's the only option. Okay, now let's hope that by the end of this lesson or by the end of the video, you can actually identify whether a verb is main, modal, or auxiliary. Okay, thanks for watching.